Hello, dear listeners and viewers. I'd like to welcome you to episode 2 of our podcast, Sleep, Pray, Drug. I am joined here today by my incredible sisters, Maureen,
Hi.
who goes by Mo, Colleen,
Hello.
that is Dolly, and Megan,
Hey.
that's Meg. My name is Bridget, and you will see me referred to as Beebs. So before we get launched into the second episode, I want to ask for a little grace this week. This will probably be a continued theme, but this week in particular has been really difficult for some reasons that we will share as we continue on throughout the podcast. It's been rough, and we have committed to show up consistently and authentically, and that is what you will get today and every day. That we record. We're doing it for you all, the listeners, and also for ourselves, as we have found great comfort together. So I want to welcome you and also take a minute just to thank you all for listening and tuning in to our first episode. We really appreciate the feedback. This is a labor of love and has been a long time in the making. And so we are very grateful for all of you that tuned in and gave feedback. And we encourage you to listen to that first episode if you haven't. That first episode was titled Suffering, the Greatest Equalizer. And we started off with some pretty heavy content, pretty deep and traumatic experiences for my sister Colleen, Dolly, and I. And we did that intentionally because we feel that suffering is the greatest equalizer. It was in that deep suffering that we experienced that this podcast was born and that our relationships were strengthened and that we were brought back together. So that was intentional, and it's not going to get much lighter this week.
Mhm.
We are hoping to have some pockets of joy within this episode. And so, as we stated, we are 4 sisters that were born and raised into a pretty strict Irish Catholic family. And in our family culture, it's very reflective of some of the music in Ireland that we grew up on. And we would be exposed to a jig, which I have the definition here, a lively dance with leaping movements. So that's one aspect of kind of the culture, is this very animated, fun, upbeat dance. And then on the flip side, in Irish music, we find a lament, which is a passionate expression of grief or sorrow. And I feel like much of our lives have kind of toggled between the jig and the lament in how we have experienced emotions and expressed emotions. And as we continue to seek kind of a middle ground, I don't know if in Irish music they have a label for a middle ground type of music. Do any of you know? You familiar? No, right?
No.
So that's kind of how we've shown up. It's really kind of, lively, which we hope you will get to see in the future. Right now, we are in a season of lament, and yeah, it just is what it is, right? So at the end of the last episode, we had wrapped it up with discussing the passing of my nephew, Rory, and that is Dolly's youngest son. And she had shared about this time in her life. And we concluded, um, walking down that journey of his memorial service and funeral. And so we're going to pick back up from there and kind of bring you all up to date on what our lives look like today. We're now almost 4 years after the death of Rory,
Mhm.
and we want to call you into our lives and let you see a glimpse of what we are navigating in the day in and day out. And so I'm going to hand it over to my sister Dolly, and she's going to pick up from Rory's funeral and talk about how she got to where she is today. And then my other sisters, Mo and Meg, and myself will share where we're at. So, Dolly, are you prepared to tell us how you got to where you are right now
Yep,
upstairs?
I am. Thanks, Beans.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So after Rory died, I had to find a safe place, somewhere to land, somewhere to breathe. So I went back to Ma and Da's, and I've been there ever since. Those first years, they broke me wide open. The grief, it wasn't gentle. It came like waves, crashing hard, pulling me under. Some days I thought I'd never come up for air again. I cried until I had nothing left, and still the sorrow stayed. For nearly 2 years, it swallowed me whole. I tried to keep working, tried to keep showing up, but there were days the grief was too heavy. I'd leave in the middle of a shift, or I'd call in sick, because one more second in the workplace felt impossible. The pain was just too much. So I searched for lifelines through support groups, stacks of books, any voice that could whisper, "You're not alone." And especially the voices of other parents who had walked this same brutal road, because they were the only ones who knew what it meant to carry this kind of loss. And then about a year ago, life shifted again, and I became a full-time caregiver for my dad. He's sick, layers of sickness stacked one on top of the other, and diagnoses piling up, weighing him down and weighing me down too. 2 months ago, hospice came, and that word, hospice, it hangs in the air heavy. It changes everything, the rhythm of the house, the way the days feel. Now my daily life is full of repetition, the kind of rhythm some would call mundane. Nurse visits, bathing, housework, wound care, over and over again. But still I get up and make time for my Dutch Bros coffee. That cup in my hands, that small ritual is my break in the monotony. My way of saying, I'm still here. I'm still me. During this time, my other 5 children were scattered across different states, but distance doesn't change the pull of a mother's heart. I'm still in the thick of their lives, from daily video calls with my 1-year-old grandbaby, her laughter spilling through the screen, a sound that cracks the heaviness wide open, to long talks with my sons and daughters, their voices scattered like stars across my weeks. And then my eldest son, he has 2 beautiful little girls. I spent so much time with them in their earlier years, so many moments stitched into my heart, which makes it that much harder now not seeing them as often, missing pieces of their lives as they grow. That ache is its own kind of grief. And the circle of grandchildren, it's completed with my eldest daughter's 2 children. I love them dearly. I've watched them grow from tiny hands to almost preteens. And it amazes me how time just keeps moving, even when my heart feels stuck. They tether me. They remind me there is still light, still love, still a reason to keep showing up. And yet here I am, watching my dad fade piece by piece, carrying Rory's absence, a grief that never loosens its grip, and holding on to my children and my grandchildren who stretch me between sorrow and life. Grief on top of grief, love on top of loss, layer after layer. And somehow I'm still here breathing, breaking, holding it all. And tomorrow I'll get up, I'll get the coffee, I'll carry the weight, because even in the monotony, even in the sorrow, life asks me to keep showing up. And I do, cup in hand, heart wide open. And that's where I am today.
Oh. Thank you, Dolly.
Mm-hmm.
And she is literally upstairs from me right now. I took a flight down to Oregon to be here. So we're working through all this together. And part of the reason why I came down during this time too was to be here for my sister Megan. And Meg, I'm gonna hand it over to you if you're comfortable kind of sharing where you're at in life right now and kind of what we went through this week together. Oh, can we come back to you? Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. It's
That's
okay.
okay, Maggie.
This
It
is
is okay.
Mhm.
this is moment to moment how we're showing up. It's absolutely fine. Moe, do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
share? Maggie, if you need to turn your camera off or if you need to turn your mic off and come back, you can. Okay. Just give a little heads up. Meg had to say goodbye to her beloved Chihuahua this week. who's been with her
For
through
11
some of
years.
her, yeah, 11 years, biggest
Yeah.
ups and downs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we'll circle back and we can end this part with Sammy's story. Okay. All right, Moe.
Okay. So I'm the oldest of the four sisters, and I'll share a little bit about my family structure and a little bit about my history. I have four kids. My oldest and only daughter lives in Alaska with her 13-year-old daughter and 7-month-old son, my two grandkids. My oldest son is a special needs young adult and lives at home and needs full time care. And we will be talking about him again in the future. My middle son just graduated college and lives between home and 45 minutes away where he attended school, trying to navigate his life post college graduation. The youngest is attending the local community college, works part time, and he lives at home. So when I graduated high school, um, I went on to college, knowing that at that time it was kind of the expectation. And being the firstborn in the family, it was just kind of instilled in me that after high school, Um, you go to college, you get married, you have a family, and life evolves from that. So that's what I did. Left home at 18, went to college. I got a degree in education and special education. I began dating an Alaskan my senior year, which brought me to Alaska after our graduation. We married, had four kids over the span of 13 years, and had a very busy life in Alaska. I was teaching special ed full time until the birth of our second son. We divorced after 20 years, and I spent the next 7 years trying to figure out when and how to return to Oregon. To my family I'd been away from for 30 years, and to all the holidays, celebrations, reunions I had missed out on during that time. Finally, 7 years ago, the boys and I made the move, the summer before the youngest was to start high school. The past 7 years have been full of transitions, kids starting and ending school, figuring out vehicles to drive, boys job hunting, several trips to Alaska to visit my daughter and grandkids when I can, living arrangements with the boys in a fairly small house, caretaking daily, whether it be my son or helping out with our parents. Little breaks and adventures have been sprinkled throughout when possible to keep the sanity. Most importantly, it's been the ongoing reconnection with my sisters in the recent years that I have loved and appreciated so much. And that's how I made my return to Oregon, back to being a part of all the celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. I think during my 20 years of marriage, I was here for one Christmas. So I'm very, very
Wow.
happy that I'm here every year
Yeah.
for Christmas
Mhm.
especially.
Well, we're happy to have you
Yeah.
here, Moe.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
I felt like for so many years there was a missing piece. I mean, I could feel it with Manda, like when you would come and visit, the agony of those goodbyes.
Mhm.
And there's definitely been like a sense of just kind of a full circle, but just so much gratitude for you being close. This is the first time like I'm really kind of sitting and taking that in and hearing you talk about that. But I think having you close has been a game changer in my life. I know that, I mean, the
Yes.
stability I feel with having my oldest sister and the firstborn here? Because you were always kind of like a second mom, not that you need to take that role on, but it does kind of feel like another motherly presence here, even though you're 100%
Mhm.
my sister. There's something very
Mhm.
comforting in having you down the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it really has come full circle for me personally in that I spent all those years with the goodbyes, being down here with the
Mm.
kids and all the goodbyes we had with mom and dad. And now with being here and with my daughter and grandkids up in Alaska, now I know exactly how mom felt all those years saying goodbye and having a child so far away. It's
Yeah.
really, really
Mhm.
hard.
It is really hard.
Mhm.
So, really puts things into perspective for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I have a child that's very, very close. Very close.
How is saying goodbye when he lives a mile,
5
Lots of
1.3
minutes
miles
tears,
away.
I'm
away?
sure.
Yeah.
5 minutes
Yeah.
away, the goodbyes are really hard. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Um, but
Yeah.
I will if you guys are okay, I'll circle back to a little bit about where I'm at in life. So, I would say that Dolly and I are having some similar experiences in terms of helping with mom and dad during this very difficult time. I would say the primary difference is that I have been trying to juggle the caretaking with working full time, and that brings with it some challenges. And so in let's see in May, I had an injury. I actually had a bad fall. I got a concussion, which required me to have some time off of work. And during that time, I decided that I needed to go on FMLA. I needed some family leave to get my head together again, because if that's at all possible, it's just, as a single woman supporting myself and so I have all the responsibilities of running a household but solo, no one to fall back on, and then such tremendous need, I would say, with mom and dad, not only all the daily tasks but all the emotional tasks as well. And mom and I, as you all know, are very close. And so I feel like that's kind of where I come in, is to offer a little bit more emotional support. But yeah, I really felt like I was going to break had I not taken this. There's just, and I'm sure a lot of people relate who are taking care of their parents as they age. Uh, the juggling act of keeping your life together while their lives seem to be falling apart. And I don't I know I won't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. And just to have had this a couple months to regroup, to take care of my own healing, first of all, physically, and then to be there for them during this very difficult time in their lives. So yeah, I've been off since May. I go back soon. A little bit more about me. I have a beautiful 22-year-old son, and I raised him on my own with the help of mom and dad. So I should say that we have a really close relationship because they helped me with Keenan. If it wasn't for them, Keenan would be a totally different child. We lived with them for 10 years up on the McKenzie River. And so Keenan had this beautiful little childhood that I wouldn't have been able to provide him on my own. Anyway, so Keenan and I are very close because it was just us for all those years. He lives just, a few minutes from me. And I love that. I love that I can call him and ask him to swing by, or he'll call me and say, "Mom, I'm coming over." And at the same time, he's very independent, has a girlfriend, a job that he loves. At the end of the day, I would say the best thing is when somebody tells me that I have a really neat kid, because that means that everyone's investment in Keenan has paid off. Not,
Mhm.
not that he has all the success in the world according to worldly standards and whatnot, or this, that, and the other, but that he's authentically a good soul. Like, that makes
Yeah.
me feel so good as a mother to hear that. And other than Keenan, about 11 years ago, I had a really traumatic heart injury, which I'll go into more, as we get further along in our podcast about that situation. But during that time, which was definitely my rock bottom, um, I discovered an ad for a a woman who needed to rehome her chihuahuas, because she had a bad diagnosis, and so she needed someone to take her dogs. Now, I'd never been a dog person before, and so even though I regret this decision, I only took one of them because I couldn't quite wrap my mind around 2 not ever having had dogs, and so I ended up with this little angel baby, and he was, like, with me as I recovered all this time. It took me a good solid year of cardiac rehab to kinda come back a little from this very traumatic and devastating thing that happened to me, and I bonded with this dog like nobody's business. Inevitably, that time comes. I'm not gonna really go into it because I don't want to cry, although I'm not ashamed of crying. I've done a lot of it, and I just kinda need a little rest. But, here's what we made, our little art
Mhm.
Mm.
project. And so,
Oh,
yeah,
Sampson.
he crossed that little rainbow 2 days ago,
Yeah.
my little baby.
Yeah, we all love Sammy.
So that's where I'm
Yeah, it's
at.
been rough, rough.
No pun intended.
Anyone whose lap he came to sit on was,
Yeah,
bonded with that little pup, because you could hold him literally like a newborn,
like a baby, he loved
like,
being held like a
like a
Mhm.
baby.
baby, like a swaddled little baby.
Uh-huh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I've never been through anything like this before. Never, like I said, not having had pets when we were growing up. There were too many kids to add pets into that mixture, and
right.
so, um, then to have this like soul connection with an animal, um, it was really neat. It
Mhm.
was neat to have and hard to lose.
Mhm.
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolly went with Meg, and I thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
Dolly. I don't think anything can prepare you,
Mm-mm.
No.
for a situation that you've never experienced or wrap your mind around. You're still processing it. And
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that you're showing up 2 days after, because I know that, I mean, 1, you said, "I will never do this again." Like, that lets me know, like, the depths of the hurt in your heart, just the loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the second thing you said was it felt like your heart was ripped out. And I know that there's a lot of people that can relate to that with their
Mhm.
animals that are affectionately referred to as their children.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
called him my little baby. I mean, that's the closest thing I can relate it to is having, I mean, obviously it's different when you have a child versus a dog, but in some ways there's some similarities. Like the love that you have is authentic and it's real and it's deep,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's unconditional. That's the thing about animals that's so neat is it's unconditional.
Yeah.
You can show up in any way, shape, or form, makeup, no makeup, sweaty, you know, whatever state or stage. that dog is gonna be there
Mhm.
to welcome you, and that's a hard thing to not have that presence when you go home. You do have another pup that is also going through this transition, um, and so that's another to
There.
carry is how is this
Yeah,
other animal navigating the loss of, his best friend as
it
well,
is.
so,
It's another, like,
yeah.
sadness on top of sadness. Cause now I
Mhm.
see, my other little doggy without his buddy, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
he's kinda lost and not really sure where to go in the house, and he's definitely out of sorts. And so it's just a constant reminder for me. Like, if I feel like, okay, I've had a break where I haven't thought about Samson, or I haven't been sad for a minute, like I can breathe for a minute. And then
Mhm.
I just look at this other dog and I'm like, okay, I take that back because I'm now looking at what an extension of the loss. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess that leaves me to catch up to date. So we left off after Rory had died was 2021. So when I had shared that I was in a confidential shelter, and that was closer to 2018. Um, and then when we got into permanent supportive housing, yeah, so I was in that location when Rory died. So I lived in confidential housing with my son. Um, and after I had left my ex-husband, and my son was only two and a half at the time, and he is now 19, which is wild to me.
mm,
So I've had this notion of documenting, narrating, writing about my experiences for many, many years. And I think subconsciously or consciously, a big part of that was waiting until my son became an adult uh, to really put myself out there or share my story. There was some safety in him being 18 and kind of, legally an adult, although he still does live at home. So I live in Seattle, Washington, and my son just graduated high school in June, and he and I have been very close, given what we've been through, and the experiences that we've navigated, and yeah, I'm not ready to talk about many of the nuances of that, but I did share that I was in a contentious custody battle for over 16 years of his life. And what I will say is that it is common in um, abusive relationships that when a partner leaves, if there's not a way to access them, that oftentimes the court system becomes uh, the area of abuse. And that was definitely the case for me. And so I spent a lot of those 16 years in court, quite frankly, or responding to motions, or, it was just
Mhm.
very disruptive to try and have any sense of stability or like a string of stable time without having to respond, react, run. I mean, it was literally those 3 options for much of that time, and it was a very stressful existence, and I did my best to provide stability and structure and some sense of normalcy for my son. And I will also add that it wasn't all from one relationship. Another thing that I have learned through much therapy and just kind of looking at how I have navigated my relationships is that it's pretty common to enter into a dynamic of this sort if you are unhealed or don't tend to your own issues. If you're functioning in a certain way within a relationship, it's common that until you change that behavior, you're going to attract similar folks. Um, and that's what I did. It took a pattern. Um, it wasn't long before I realized that there was something within me that needed to shift. And for me, it was like setting boundaries, like learning to speak up for myself. A lot of things that I'm still in therapy for to this day. And, I was intentionally single from the time my son was until about 16 to work on myself and to make sure that no dynamic of abuse ever entered my sphere again. And so we have been in Seattle. For those of you that have ever navigated custody or moving with a child is very complicated. And I also didn't want to take him away from his father and much of his friend group and other side of the family was there and we stayed put. And, that might shift. I don't know. I might be down here, shoot, next month. Who knows? But now that he's 18 and there's a little bit more freedom with how I can navigate my life, I've definitely been down in Oregon a lot more. In 2020 during COVID, we practically lived down here in the room that you're sitting in, Dolly. Like that was
Yeah.
where my son and I stayed. So we're in Seattle and I'm super proud just the experiences, the ups and downs, just to even be here. Like I can get emotional thinking about just sitting here, just being here because there were times that I thought a situation or a circumstance would take me out, whether it was exhaustion or fatigue or sickness or despair. Yeah, to be here and to see this podcast come to fruition, to have this relationship with my sisters, to have both my parents here, to have a son who is remarkable, wise beyond his years. And I will give a little shout out. He trains in Muay Thai, which is a martial art form, and he fights in Muay Thai. And I think that became saving grace for him. That became where he would go to vent whatever he was experiencing. That was his training ground, both mentally, physically, emotionally. But it's been a focus and a discipline for him that has been incredibly beneficial. Yeah, last year we spent a whole month in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And that was a goal that I can tell you I never would have thought that I could do it. I never would have thought that I would do it. Even when my son was like, I want to go train in Thailand. This is what for my 18th birthday, like I have an opportunity to train in Thailand. Up until like 2 months before I got the tickets, I was like, I hope he changes his mind on Thailand because there's no way. I am, how am I going to make this happen? And I realized through that baby steps of everything from getting a passport, documentation, booking flights, like all these things that were very much out of my comfort zone. I just started doing it. And it was the best trip of my life. And I had the best travel partner in my son. We're going to do it again many times over, hopefully. But yeah, we came back and, you know, Da being sick has been kind of the focal point for all of us. One other thing I will add in there is that I have been able to do all this to pay my bills, pay rent, support my son, transport my child, all of this because of the relationship I have with my sister, Mo. And I have a deep relationship with her son, Kale, who has special needs. And I help care for Kale, typically like 4 to 6 weeks at a time. We'll meet halfway and I'll take Kale up with me. And he's become a part of my family with my son and my little special needs dog, Murphy. Uh, and so I feel like that's how I can help being away and out of the state of Oregon is that I can love on my nephew Kale and that frees Mo up to assist in the caretaking of our parents. So it really is all hands on deck. It's pretty beautiful to see how we all step in and fall back and step in and make sure that most of our needs are being met. Not all, 'cause there's a
Yeah.
lot of areas that are screaming for attention. But
It has been a game
yeah,
changer, though. I mean, Whoops.
Mhm.
Thought my mic was going down. Just with the trips that, well, I guess you and I have had one trip where you and Khalil were able to come with the boys and I, and we had an amazing vacation.
Mhm.
And when he's in Seattle, it's just been an amazing time for me to kind of rejuvenate myself and take care of things that I normally wouldn't be able to do with Kale here because it is a full time, it can be a very full time job, meeting all of those needs that are similar to dad's in some respects.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
mundaneness and the routine, and yeah, it's been a game changer to have you, Bridget, part of that. It's a well orchestrated period of time where Kale's
Mhm.
involved
Mhm.
with mom and dad's
Yeah.
needs,
Yeah.
and I know Kale loves
Yeah.
it. Kale and Murphy have kind of grown up together. Um, from the pictures of Murphy being just a little puppy sitting on Kale's lap in his wheelchair. And he'll
Mhm.
Mhm.
still get on his lap now, but he's much bigger. But that's
Mhm.
been a really cool thing to see is Murphy's
Yeah.
attention to Kale and
Mhm.
his reaction, when he does have a seizure and
Mhm.
Murphy's response to that. It's been really,
Yeah.
really cool to see that develop.
Yeah.
Moe, do you want a dog?
I have 3 cats already, including a special needs 3-legged cat
Oh,
at
that's
that.
Right. You have a special needs cat, and I have a special needs
Yeah.
dog.
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't offering my dog if that's what you were thinking. I was just saying, again, it's amazing what dogs can do and what kind of comfort they can be, and to see that
Yes.
sweet
Yeah.
dynamic with Kale and Murphy. It's
Mhm.
like, there's more going on there between those two than just like, oh, random animal and,
Yeah. Yep.
a kiddo.
It definitely
Yeah.
is.
Mhm.
Well, for many years, the kids would ask, "Well, Mom, have you thought about getting a seizure dog for Kale?" And maybe it was considered once or twice, but because of, um, I mean, I do see the benefits. I don't want to, you know, dispute anything around that, animals with people that have seizures, but just because of Kale's overall functioning and um, he himself wouldn't have the capability to be alerted by a dog in terms of a dog sensing he's going to have a seizure. And then Kale would sit down or get himself in a safe place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, I think, the main consideration. I could certainly be alerted to it by a dog, but I have other ways that I
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
watch and listen and hear, watch him in a video camera when he's sleeping and um, rather than a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to give some context to Mo's eldest son who has special needs, he's 32, and Kale had a traumatic brain injury, which was verifiably due to a vaccine. And I know that there's a lot of political talk around vaccines and what they do or don't do, but this is something that was studied. And as I recall, Mo, didn't Kale's lot number have the highest number of deaths associated with it at the time? And it was a
Right.
live vaccine.
Yes, it was the pertussis, and it had out of 900 lot numbers, it had the highest amount of reactions associated with it,
Yeah.
including several deaths.
Yes. So Kale was what, 4 months? 4 months old, had that vaccine, and within a short amount of time had a febrile seizure that lasted over 2.5 hours. And from then on, it was seizures almost daily.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that can be hard to hear as a listener. Our family has been deeply involved in Kale's experiences in life from the time he was an infant until now. He's 32. So Mo was talking about in reflecting around having a dog because service animals can be life-changing and life-saving. We know that for thousands of people. And it wasn't to dismiss that a service dog wouldn't be good for Kale, but Kale does not, he has his seizures primarily when he's sleeping, and we have monitors and we have a whole system, and there's certain things that we're looking for. And Kale cognitively, he's nonverbal, so he doesn't speak. And if you were to say like, Kale, can you take a seat for me? He's not comprehending that. Or
Mhm.
Kale, can you go get your cup? Or, I mean, it's a full time, all needs, feeding, bathing, changing, mobility. It's all
It's probably
consuming.
like a 2 to 3-year-old functioning level
Yeah,
without the
yeah,
language.
right. So with the dog that I have, and I'll say I was not a dog person at all. And when Dolly showed pictures of her dog that had had puppies, I don't even know what led to this notion that I would welcome a dog into my home when my son was 16, 17, and because I just was like, meh, take it or leave it. But I saw little Murphy and you started sending pictures, and there was something there that was like, I need this dog in my life, this little miniature Australian Shepherd Chihuahua mix that probably never should have mixed, but here we are with certain breeds.
Here we are.
There are certain breeds that just kind of come with their own set of circumstances. And Murphy
Yep.
has a very stocky, he is overweight and he's got little Chihuahua legs. So it's a balancing act, literally and
Literally.
figuratively. But he was born with some joint issues, mobility issues. He's had a surgery. And, I push him out to the field in a stroller and he'll kind of hop around like a little bunny, and his quality of life is awesome. And he and Kale have really bonded. And what I will say is that while Murphy may not alert to a seizure, Murphy knows when Kale is having a seizure and will look at me, and then he'll whimper and he has to get to Kale, and he will just lay right up on Kale's chest or right next to him, and I'll get the magnet, because Kale has an implant. What is the name of the implant, Mo?
Vagus nerve stimulator, a
Vagus nerve
VNS.
stimulator. Yep. So we hold the magnet over it. Murphy knows the whole process. And then Kale will come out of his seizure and he'll have heavy breathing. And sometimes he'll fall back asleep, but sometimes he'll still be kind of jerky. What's the term I'm looking? Tremors, like larger
Twitchy.
tremors, smaller, twitchy. And Murphy will be right by his side. Yeah. If I'm changing his diaper and Kale goes to grab for his bib, Murphy will take it and try and eat whatever is on it. Like they have this kind of brotherly dynamic between them, which I have loved to see develop. Any road trips, they're in the back seat together, kind of bickering, barking, laughing.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, when we
So
go back to
sweet.
those animals, and I get it, Meg, because the first moment that I knew something was wrong with Murphy, I was running with him, like holding him like he was a child. All of the panic. What am I going to do? What does this mean? Is he hurting? Is he? And I
Mhm.
never would have anticipated that with a dog. Yet here we
Mhm.
are. You
Mhm.
know, we
Yeah.
joke that the last thing I'll say around this is I don't know if any of our listeners have heard of the book or read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, but it's a manual on trauma and how our bodies hold on to trauma in different ways, like at a cellular level with, sometimes illness, autoimmune disease, physical pain. And I know that after Rory died, Dolly was with Murphy. He was her dog for the first 3 months of his life. And that was after Rory had passed.
Mm.
And you, Dolly, road tripped with Murphy from
Mhm.
Arizona to Seattle with little Murph. And then I had Murphy for about 6 months before the one and only real partner that I've had in that time period that I was intentionally being single, that 6-year period. I had met Johnny, and Johnny had passed shortly after I'd gotten Murphy. And then his mobility issues started. And I used to kind of jokingly say Murphy's body is keeping the score of our traumas because we leaned so heavily. I don't know if that's a thing, but
Mm-hmm.
Murphy was just such a beautiful little nugget for both of us during some really painfully emotional times.
Yeah.
Those bonds during suffering or sadness,
Mm-hmm.
they stay with you. I can see, Meg, when you had your broken heart syndrome, how Sammy was that for you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the jigs and laments session, does anyone have any jigs? Any highlights? Anything that made you jump around?
Well, you came to town, babes.
Yes, you came to visit.
It's a big jig.
We had an amazing, we had a fun sister day at the lake, which made my
Yes, we
week.
did.
That was right
Mhm.
after I brought Sammy in, and I totally
Mhm.
needed that. And thank you, girls, for making that happen because that just took some of the weight off the day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Those lake
that was
trips have
nice.
been awesome.
And we've got a 60th anniversary party coming up for Ma and Da.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we do.
So there's another jig.
Mm-hmm.
that's huge. Our parents celebrate 60 years of marriage on September 11th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Da's birthday, his 82nd birthday, is on September 13th. So September is kicking off with some jigs.
Yep, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you all don't mind, can I read that Gaelic blessing from last week?
Yeah, let's
Yes.
do
Yes.
it.
Absolutely.
I feel like we
Do
need
it.
a blessing this week for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gaelic blessing for you. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. May the beauties of the earth and sky and sea fill your heart with lasting peace and contentment.
Mm.
We'll see y'all next week.
Yes. Yes, yes.
All right, girls.
All righty.
Yes,
Come
yes.
on next week.
All right. Back to caretaking. Let's
Love ya.
love you.